And we are back. Another year of building the board. We are on to our first positional episode. I am joined by Luke O'Grady. We are here to talk tight ends tonight. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. That was a crazy intro. I've never seen that intro before.
Yeah, I put some time into that last year.
You
Anyone
did that?
watching on YouTube gets to take a look at that. But I'm proud of that one. Proud
Yeah,
of
that's
it.
good. You did
But
that, eh?
yeah. Well, me and the skill enhancer that is Canva did
Right.
a lot of the
Yeah.
work for me.
Steve
But
says he does a bunch of stuff on Canva too. I gotta see. I gotta look into that more.
yeah, but yeah, we're here to talk tight ends. And the first thing we want to start these shows with is always, what do the Bears have a tight end right now? Like
Yeah.
what
State of the Union.
yeah. And so right now it's really just Cole Kmet, who isn't going anywhere. Like
Nope.
his contract is fair, like friendly enough.
Totally.
And he's done plenty in his career to say, even
Yeah.
though down last year might have been a little down, but
Yeah.
it's Cole Kmet's a good starting tight end in this league.
Totally.
Behind that, you got Gerald Everett. And Luke, what do you think's going to happen with Gerald Everett here?
I uh I still think that Gerald Everett can be a good pro. I think he always kind of has been. Um I think that like he probably plays the move tight end position. I don't think he gives you much as a blocker. I think we saw that this year. But I'd look really closely at that contract and see how much we're paying him and see if it might be something we could shed.
A $6.5 million cap hit with 5.5 million in savings if you cut him.
Really? Yeah, see, dude, that might be it for him because I like we we can you can invest in a tight end in the draft and get save that money and spend it somewhere else. Which the
Mhm.
Bears will probably there's probably a lot more important positions to address with that money. And on the flip side, there are probably some tight ends in free agency that you could get for a little bit less, just being a lesser name than Gerald Everett, that could at least give you what we got out of him last year.
Yeah, I think so too. And especially, I think they're going to want a blocker, like a guy who's a more reliable run blocker in there than a Gerald Everett. But with that being said, like you said, going through the draft, what type of what amount of draft capital would have you sitting there scratching your head going like, I don't know about that for a tight end?
Yeah, like it would have to be, you have to marry it with like the value of the people we have in the draft. And I don't think that I have a first round grade on anyone in this draft, but like positional wise for the Bears need, I wouldn't want to see them do anything until at least the third round, maybe fourth. Like there's some players in this draft that I have second round grades on, so if they happen in the second, I could go, okay, maybe I get that. But as far as the need to the team, I think you start to do it on day three, like four and above.
Mm-hmm.
I think there'll be some nice options there of some players that probably fit that value a little bit more. Because, like you said, you have your starting tight end in Cole Kmet. He is a starting wide receiver in the NFL, and the fact of the matter is that position, especially in Ben Johnson's offense, is going to be on the field 80 to 90% of the time. The position you'd be looking to fill would probably be that like more X tight end position,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not as pressing of a need. I'd hate to see them use like that's a second round pick on that space. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so there are a few guys, and we'll get into them specifically here, where if they use number 41 or number 39 on one or two of these names, it would be like, on one hand, I'd be like, that's great value. I love the value for that player there. But then on the other hand, I'm like, but they're only playing what 40% of the
I
snaps
know.
at 39 or 41. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head. Third round is probably the earliest I could see it, and more
Yeah.
likely day three is where it probably makes the most sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is someone in this draft that if we took him in the second round, I would probably talk myself into. I think that we'll get to it, but there's a player that, as far as like the need for the team, like the role he plays, I think it would be perfect and actually kind of an exciting addition to the Ben Johnson offense. And I think it complements Cole well, and he kind of has that grade fit. It would be a little bit of a reach in my books, but there's pretty much only one person with those second round picks that I would imagine the Bears go with, or that
Interesting.
I would like kind of be okay with the Bears going with.
I'm interested to hear who that is as we get into it. But
Yeah.
as you're talking about fit and with Ben Johnson's offense, What are you looking for in that complementary tight end to Cole Kmet to be that complementary guy in the Ben
Yeah.
Johnson offense?
Like I think you saw a pretty standard like wide tight end type stuff that they were doing with Laporta, and I think that that's probably where you'll pencil in Komet. So I think like the stuff, like you'd be kind of almost be looking at like I think something like the way the Dolphins use like Johnny Smith, like as an H back, like off the line, and then even sometimes in the backfield, someone that's maybe not as big or as responsible in the blocking game, maybe like closer to like 6'3", but can move a little better and you can get going in motion and create some mismatches on linebackers and stuff. I would imagine that that's the kind of role that the Bears would be looking to fill, as well as someone in the Mercedes Lewis role of just another basically offensive lineman. Actually, honestly, if the Bears wanted to give him another contract, I'd be fine with it as long as he's used correctly.
Yeah, really. I mean, I think it's an interesting thing we're trying to parse through here because my thought process has been kind of the opposite of I look at Brock Wright with Detroit last year. I'm like, that's a blocker. That
Yep,
is a blocking tight end of blocking tight ends. Like
totally.
the guy it needs to be that, but it's not necessarily that black and white because we don't know what Ben Johnson's offense is going to be here. So there's a lot of gray area with does he want more of a Johnu Smith type guy to be able to do
It's
that
actually a really
12
good point.
passing stuff?
Yeah, he didn't say that it was about like building your offense around your players. So it's like was it? And we said this about kind of like the way the game complemented Jared Goff's style as well. Like, was he doing a lot of that 12 like two tight end on the line type sets because they had Brock Wright, or were they
Mhm.
like did they have Brock Wright because they wanted to do those sets?
Yeah, and it's interesting, and really, the more you dig into the Lions tight end stuff, the more interesting it kind of gets when you see, they shipped off TJ Hawkinson.
I know.
Like they said that this wasn't working right.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sam Laporta is kind of a similar mold, but I'd say like I would say a more dynamic route runner. But
Yep.
it's just an interesting thought process of like, I wonder how Cole Komet's gonna fit into what exactly they want, because clearly TJ Hawkinson wasn't it.
Yeah, I think that they probably thought Laporta gave them a little bit more as a blocker, and maybe like being able to say there are times in this offense when we need to rely on you to hold your blocker. None of this works. They thought maybe we can't get that done with Hawkinson, and like even just incrementally getting better in that area with Laporta was a big part of making that move. But I would also think that they probably think they have that in Komet. Komet's a
Yeah.
pretty solid all around tight end in the NFL. Like,
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing a reason why they would move on from Komet, especially since he's already been extended and
yeah,
like that contract is where it's at this point. And like
yeah,
I said earlier, I don't think there's anything to complain about with it, but
no,
it's it's signed, it's locked in, and I don't
yeah.
think you're moving it.
No, I didn't mean it like moving on from him. I meant like I think that if they want to try like more of the move tight end, or if it ends up being the Ben
Mhm.
Johnson just prefers to have two of those bigger blocking tight ends, you at least know you have one in Komet. So the way that they go with addressing that position will be interesting. I think
Yeah.
we'll kind of get an idea of what Ben Johnson's like dream offense is, because that's a hole he just gets to fill now in like the vision of what like his optimal playbook is. I
Yeah.
mean, this is all assuming he moves on from Gerald Everett.
Yeah. Which I mean, I don't know. I hope that that's just the case. I hope
Sorry,
it's just
Gerald.
like a big thing in that Detroit offense was right, like no block, no rock. Like I just have to believe Gerald Everett is not exactly what they're looking for. At least not what we saw from him last
I know.
year.
Yeah, agreed.